Hello everyone, welcome to Close Up on America's Business, the program that takes you inside some of the most unique and successful companies in America. I'm Janice Marie. On each edition of our show, you have the opportunity to meet some of the most innovative business leaders in the country today. You'll find out what their products, services, technologies, and business models can do for you, and what they're doing to change our world and to change the way we do business.
Obesity is hands down one of the most serious medical issues facing this country. We hear about it virtually every day. That more Americans, from children through adulthood, are getting fatter and fatter. It is so serious, it has actually reached epidemic levels. In order to lose weight, many Americans have turned to surgery for help, and there are several various surgical procedures available that are very effective. And to learn about them, we have come to consult with Dr. Rajiv Vora. He is the chief of minimally invasive surgery and bariatric surgery here at South Nassau Community's Hospital Weight and Life Management Center. He's also the president of New York Bariatrics and Laparoscopy. Together, he and his team have performed over 2,000 weight loss surgeries. And he talked with us about his practice, about the procedures, about the benefits of laparoscopic surgery in general.
I do laparoscopic surgery, and we offer a wide variety of surgical procedures laparoscopically. Predominant part of our practice is bariatric surgery, which is a surgery for obesity. There we offer a range of procedures including the gastric bypass, laparoscopic gastric banding, sleeve gastrectomy, and some revisional surgeries. We also offer a whole variety of other laparoscopic procedures, including removal of a gallbladder, repair of hernias, treatment of gastroesophageal reflux, and removal of the colon for benign and malignant disorders. Almost 100% of the procedures we do are approved by insurance.
I had bariatric surgery, specifically gastric bypass surgery with Dr. Vora 2 years ago, and since then I have lost 190 pounds. I was actually a poster girl for a heart attack waiting to happen. What really pushed me to make the final decision for gastric bypass was the fact that I had hypertension, which was treated with 2 medications. I had diabetes, I had sleep apnea, I had asthma, which required a number of medications. I probably had more medications than your average 80-year-old person. I chose Dr. Vora for a number of reasons. I was very pleased with his staff. His staff is incredibly supportive, from the ladies that make your appointment to people at the bedside to Dr. Vora himself. And his knowledge, his expertise are what every person wants in their surgeon, and his bedside manner was exceptional for me. See, these are the pants, and I could probably stand in one leg right now with all the weight that I've lost.
Who is a good candidate for this kind of surgery?
In order for a patient to be a candidate for surgery, they have to have a body mass index of greater than 40 or a body mass index of greater than 35 with established comorbidities. Comorbidities are conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, obstructive sleep apnea. So that is the definition of what morbid obesity is. If you're 5'4" and you're a female, your ideal body weight is probably somewhere in the range of about 125 to 130 pounds. If you're about 80 pounds heavier than that, that's a rough rule of thumb.
Explain the gastric bypass for me, if you will.
Gastric bypass is still the gold standard for bariatric surgery, against which we measure every surgical procedure. There certainly is a whole variety of other procedures, laparoscopic gastric banding. It certainly is a lesser invasive procedure than the gastric bypass. Also has the advantage of reversibility. So we have different modalities to manage obesity surgically, but gastric bypass is still the gold standard against which we measure the results for every other procedure.
I wore a size 56 pants. They were tight on me. These were tight on me. And now I bought a pair of Lucky jeans and they're 36.
My girlfriend and I had decided to go to Dr. Vora because he had performed surgery on my girlfriend's friend, and she said that the staff was great, the surgery went well, and even after there was a lot of support. And those are key components when you're choosing a doctor. You want to make sure that they have a good reputation. I also did a lot of research on the website. I did visit one doctor before Dr. Vora's office, and when I went to see Dr. Vora's staff, I felt more comfortable there, and so I chose to continue with my pathway to surgery. Wake up in the morning, and it was the first thing I would think about is my weight. I eat to live, not live to eat. Yes, that's great, because now when you look at the scale, you can't believe that you're at that weight, but it's even better when I put on clothes from a size 22 to a size 8, 6. It was great because I was going from size to size to size. I had skipped completely over 10. And I thought I was going to stop at 14, but I kept going.
What does the lap band actually do? I mean, I gather the patient really can't eat a lot.
The lap band is an adjustable silicone band which is placed around the top part of the stomach and then is connected with this tubing to this access port. This gets buried under the skin and the fat, so it's nothing which is visible from outside. But we can access this in order to tighten or loosen the band. Once the procedure is done, the patients then follow up in our office for their adjustments. The band is compartmentalizing the stomach into a small reservoir above, and that's really what gives the feeling of satiety or fullness, and after a consumption of a smaller amount of food. So that's really what's going to limit the amount of food the patient's going to be consuming.
My doctor recommended Dr. Vora, and their office said their staff was very professional and courteous. I found this to be true. For adjustments, it's a very simple procedure. You go in, they check and see how you've been doing for the month. They weigh you. The adjustments are painless. The needle goes in, they inject a saline solution, and it's done. Very simple, very straightforward, easily adjustable. Had it on a Thursday, was back to work on a Monday morning. It was nothing. I mean, all the fear and the anxiety that I had built up was all in my own mind. And had somebody told me that, it may have eased me a little bit. And of course, they tell you that in the office, but that's not somebody who experienced it. I went through it, and I'm telling you it's nothing. And everybody who's come out of it that I've told it's nothing has agreed with me. They said, David, thank you for advising us to do this. They're looking forward to putting their lives back on track.
Once a young woman has had this kind of surgery, is it still possible for her to bear children?
Just in our own program, we've had about 20 patients who've had successful pregnancies after surgery. The one thing we absolutely insist is that they do not get pregnant for the first 18 months after surgery, because that's usually the period of precipitous weight loss. So we want to make sure that they're going to get pregnant at a time when they're going to be able to consume enough calories for the health of both the mother and the fetus. In fact, a lot of these women have spent most of their lives trying to get pregnant. And since they're obese, they really had issues with infertility. Once they lose the weight, they certainly become very fertile and are going to be able to become pregnant.
In the surgical setting, I assist in the operating room. I see patients pre- and post-operatively. And in this practice, I adjust the gastric bands. My role here is to educate the patients on adjustable gastric banding and to provide them with the service of adjusting their bands based on their food intake and their weight loss. Bands are adjusted every 4 to 6 weeks based on the weight loss and the portion sizes the patients are taking in and how long they remain full after they eat. We put fluid in the band to tighten it up around the stomach. That offers a physical restriction which keeps the patients full longer with solid foods and has them eating smaller portions. The extra energy which allows them to complete their daily activities is enough to really motivate them to continue to exercise and continue to do well. I think most people are extremely happy as their medication doses are lowered or medications are eliminated. They feel good about that, they feel healthier, and they have a better sense of well-being.
As the bariatric clinical coordinator, I work with the patients pre-op and post-op. In this comprehensive program, education plays a major role, and that's what I do. A lot of the education before they go in for surgery. They have a lot of pre-testing they have to do, so I do the clinical stuff. I help accumulate all the testing and get them ready for the surgery. I'm a physician's assistant, and that helps with the clinical part of it. I'm also a registered dietitian. It's really good to combine both the PA and the registered dietitian background to help patients. After the surgery, I still do the post-op education because we still need to make sure they follow up. I run the support groups, tell them what to expect after the surgery, and make sure there's behavior modification before the surgeries to make sure they reach their goal weight. They start belonging to the Century Club. We give them certificates when they lose 100 pounds. It's like an honor for them.
You can't even tell where the incisions actually are. They're really, really small. I think this scar on my arm is actually bigger than my incisions. You don't need to worry about any plastic surgery down there or anything like that. Once I had the surgery, I just felt great. And once I've lost all the weight, now when I get on the plane, I'm able to fasten the seatbelt without having to ask for that extension. And also, I'm able to cross my legs and still bring down the tray table. I love everything about it. I'm more energetic. I go to aerobics. I'm able to run around with my dog in the backyard and things like that.
Another procedure you do is called the gastric sleeve. Explain to me what that is.
The sleeve is a relatively new procedure. It is in the same category as the band. That is, it is a restrictive operation, so there's no bypass involved, no rerouting of intestines. The shape of the stomach becomes like a sleeve. So it's a long tubular sleeve. So that's essentially why the name sleeve gastrectomy. So it is a permanent removal of that portion of the stomach. It appeals to certain patients who are not desirous of having a foreign body put in them and are not desirous of coming back for their adjustments. In a sleeve, once the procedure is done, the patient does not have to come back for any adjustments like the band patients do. The band can really stay in somebody's body for the rest of their lives. So I think it's very important to be regimented and have a target weight and try to maintain it within a few pounds of that. Surgery is a very small piece of the puzzle. I think it's a lifelong commitment and a lifelong sort of bond between the patient and the patient's surgeon and the multidisciplinary team, which is a recipe for success.
And there you are, some very important and beneficial information on the subject of weight loss surgical procedures and laparoscopic surgery from Dr. Rajiv Vora. I'm Doug Llewellyn reporting from Long Island, New York.
Well, that does it for this edition of Close Up on America's Business. I'm Janice Marie. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.